Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's having a good morning. I'm live from New York City. Hi, Harry. How you doing? Uh, Today, we're going to have some interesting conversation, I hope. Um, hey, Laverde. We've yet to meet yet. Enjoy some of your scopes. I like your spunk. Um, so, hey, Susie. Hey, man, how's it go? It goes well. Um, so, I found what I'm doing the past few mornings is that as I'm boxing up eBay orders that I'm moving around, looking at different scopes, particularly the teleport feature of at least the version of Periscope I have now. I don't think it's on every version. Um, so uh, Yesterday I was managed to go by Lisa Illman stuff, and this morning I was looking at Pete Cohen stuff. He's at Pete Cohen, PETECOHEN underscore. I think he also has a website called www.mi365.me. Um, and what apparently he seems to have been focusing on this week is how we make up excuses, right? It's easy to outsmart yourself and outwit yourself and self-deprecate yourself just by making excuses out of something. So that's why I suck and you do too, okay? Because we all make up excuses. And I kind of sat there and actually typed into my editor like, what are the excuses I've made, and what are the excuses I've heard, and I've actually been able to pound out like a whole page of stuff. Um, and Pete Cohen's "I don't suck, I'm here now." All right. Well, you woke up early, so if you woke up late, you would suck. Okay. So his point was that we make up excuses, and not only do we that, we try to justify them, we try to defend them, and we try to rationalize them. And I've seen this way too often in too many markets. Taking a break from making money, that's important to do too. I flip flop on Tuesdays myself for that reason. Sometimes there's only so much your body can take and only so much you can do. We lose too much sleep, and it can mess with our brains. And I've done this for decades. And there's just some days. Oh, it's 60 degrees out? Oh, I didn't realize it was that hot already. Yeah, and sometimes it's worth taking a park. I might go for a walk later. I'm close to Flushing Meadow Park, so I'll probably walk around there or something. Actually, I've been walking lately as a healthy thing to do to try to lose some weight. And I found that actually when I do that, I do a lot more thinking than I normally do. So let me go through some of the flea market excuses I have said, and I've definitely heard time and time again. Um, One is there's no people at the market today. And by the way, there's a kind of funny thing with a lot of these excuses is that they can be partially true, and in some cases they can be 100% true. So we're talking about when we use them as excuses. Like if the market's packed, you can't say there's no customers, and yet I've heard that. Um, there's nobody coming to my table. The weather sucks. Again, the weather can be horrible, and yet, yep, we all say that. So there's things like that. And it's especially when we start blaming the other vendor. And I wrote some other stuff. The other vendor has better products than me. The other vendor undercuts my price. The other vendor is a nasty MA, whatever, right? SOB. The other vendor is ruthless. The other vendor stole my customers. How dare he, right? You didn't free them to him. He stole them. How dare he, right? The other vendor goes to the same distributor I do to get my products, and he told the guy bad things about me, so he won't give me a better price. And we all, right, it's hysterical when you think about it. And yet I've heard all these things from a lot of people. I can't buy new product. I woke up late. Um, the market management, the people who run the market, they have it out for me, right? They suck. That market sucks, right? I hate that market. Well, then stop going to it. Go to another one, right? It's things like that. It's the end of the month and nobody has any money. A customer got me pissed off, so I'm mad for the whole freaking day, right? I yell at every customer then. I mean, it's just nonsense. So, and there's Murphy's Law, right? If anything can go wrong, it will. So, we got it now, because anything can go wrong and it will. We're going to justify the rest of our screw up for the rest of the day. That's our excuse. Because things can go wrong, they will. So therefore, right? It only makes sense. If that's the theorem, then it's a corollary, right? My dog ate it. I was actually going to write that, but I couldn't figure out a context to say it in. It was meant to be, right? What was meant to be? That you can't bust your hump and work hard or something? What was meant to be, right? It is what it is. Oh yeah, it is what it is. That's the classic one, right? That's got it. Okay, Harry, take it easy. There was an emergency, right? And an emergency is probably only the real valid one to really get at here. Saturday taught me a valuable lesson. Why, did you come up with an excuse? Do you suck too? Tell us. We want to hear. And people, an emergency is really the only valid excuse to have. But the emergency has to be a real emergency, not just nonsense. Like if everybody's like, I had an emergency, I had to get gas in my car. Ooh, right, oh my God, right? It doesn't make any sense. So another emergency, valid emergency, I got lost to the market. And that may not be valid because, like, why didn't you have a GPS running on your phone? Or why didn't you have a GPS? Or why didn't you, at least the night before, print out a MapQuest instructions? Or why didn't you figure out something? It was cold out and not very busy in town. We sold like 50 colognes. Well, that's still good for you. Was that your first time or your second time, I think, right? Yeah, I think that was your second time, at least from what you scoped so far. By the way, quick side comment to you. When I replay Dustin's scopes, there's no audio. And half the time it kind of goes in like a bad TV mode when Periscope has those slanted lines. So if you pass that on to him, I don't know if it's his phone or the way... I don't know. Yeah, I guess he has an Android phone. But I can't hear anything he's saying it. And not a single scope he's ever made, at least the ones I've seen. So what we like to do with these excuses is it's not my fault, right? It has nothing to do. But what about your part in it? What about your part in it, right? Could it be that you're an idiot? If I had used those excuses, I'd still be holding on to those 50 pieces. Right. No, you're a live wire at the moment, Laverty, at least from your scopes. So I would love to be next to you one day and see you going at it, because I kind of lost some of that spunkiness. I still have some of it in me, but there's days where I'm just so beaten down. And again, that's an excuse. So it's fun to see an upcoming person have that enthusiasm. And just kind of as a side thing, keep that with you. Remember, I'm nobody, but remember I'm saying this to you because that matters so much. Okay, you were talking about his Periscope connection, right? Because I think I tried to catch him live and couldn't do it, and then no replay could I get him. So again, I don't know if I guess it has to be his phone. But what I found was I think in the replay people were talking, so I think people could hear him during the live. Okay, so we always procrastinate and do all these other kind of things. So so again, are you an idiot? Are you a jerk? Are you an a-hole? Right? What about stuff like that? How about you're just freaking lazy? Right? Maybe you're just too lazy. That's why you're making excuses. That's why you did poorly today. Right? Did you get up off your chair during the whole flea market time? Right? Were you too lazy to get up to even go to the bathroom? Right? That kind of a thing. Right? And there's always I can do it later. I can do it tomorrow. I'll do it soon, and tomorrow comes, and it's never been done. Right? I'll do it later. Well, later's now, finally. Did you do anything? Right? And especially if you had a live market. Later is the time you got a clock ticking. The market ends at a certain time, period. At some markets, there is no later. So again, I suck and so do you. Right? So we go through some of these silly mental things, and we can't do that. So there's also procrastination is freaking evil. Right? Get the garlic out. Get the garlic out. There's other stuff we can do. I did poorly today because I got to the market late. Perhaps, but perhaps not. Yes, yes. It's humorous, but we all do it. And I'm trying to use humor as the technique to right, slap ourselves. My face is red already, so the slapping is not causing it to get red. I left the market too early. That's actually an excuse and a reality, because a lot of vendors do leave the market too early. And there's also people who say, what I do is the right way to do it. Well, maybe not. Maybe not all the time. Are you ignorant? And I say that with affection. Are you ignorant? Right? Right? And the worst case, you suck. And I do too. Okay? So we also have this thing that I wrote down some notes down here. So are you misdirected? Am I misdirected? Do we suck because we don't know what's going on? Do we suck because we're not using our brains? Do we suck because we don't think things through? Do we suck because we didn't plan it out? Or do we just plain suck because we suck? Right? Often there's also the grass is always greener. The other vendor has something. Well, yeah, I think we should look at other people and so on too. But what about you and yourself? What's in your soul? What's in your passion? What's in what you want to do? Those kind of things. All right? So, and by the way, connecting it back to what Pete Cohen had said, his rationale or his premise for this phenomenon, this human syndrome or whatever that we have, is that we do it out of fear. I'm not convinced that that's the only reason. It's probably some of the reasons. And this interesting ties into what I was saying yesterday from Lisa Illman, who was talking about how we fear stuff. I forget the exact quote of her horoscope, but it was about our brains are fear incubators, and there's this weird cognitive thing that goes on in our heads where we try to justify things and rationalize things, and even that is a reason to kind of, even if Pete's right, like, okay, so we do it because of fear, so therefore we rationalize it. Okay, let's move on. No. What about trying to get something done? What about making progress? So you need to ask yourself, what are you scared of? If it's fear, what are you scared of? Okay. Who am I? What's my goals? What am I setting out to do? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to go forward? What do I want to do? If I have goals, are they being met? Or do they just make them to pretend I made them? You know, a lot of people make New Year's resolutions, and most people don't stick to them. Well, what was the point of making it, right? By the way, I don't make New Year's resolutions, so I can't suck that way. Okay? Do I self-loathe myself? And that's part of this thing where you might even create a list like, oh my God, look at all the stuff I'm going to do, and then it never gets accomplished or something. And often, and by the way, there's this concept of a comfort zone, and I find people often do that when they have normal 9-to-5 jobs. It pays well enough, and it's kind of easy enough to get to, and I don't want to rock the boat, right? Oh my God, I mean, I might upset some people. Well, okay, upset them, right? If you have something to say and something to do and you see something wrong, and if it's that wrong, move out of the place. But we all have comfort zones that we like to, our nice little smooth blanket that we're, Linus, right? Right? That kind of a thing. So we all have that. For some of us, it might be a food, it might be whatever. But in a job, are you self-loathing yourself? Are you carrying around a virtual blanket too much all the time? So you need to ask yourself, what are your common goals? Right? What are you going to do about the problem that you're having? And what is your excuses? What are your excuses? Take out a pen and a pencil and go through it and try to figure out some of that stuff. Okay? Try to transfer yourself out of yourself and think to yourself, as if you were not yourself, but you were watching yourself. So observe yourself and think to yourself, what am I doing? What excuses am I making? What's holding me back? And often it's you yourself. right? There are realities in the world that do hold you back, but sometimes they're surpassable. They're able to be gotten around, right? So there's things like that. Um, so what we want to do is move away from bad habits and bad things. So really, this is not about a flea market stuff. This is about you. Okay, and even some of the excuses I came up with about the flea markets, they don't necessarily have to apply to the flea markets. It could be any business. It doesn't even have to be a business endeavor you're involved with. It could be something else. So it ties into emotionally preparing yourself and things. Um, so um, I think I've read all the things I came up with. Um, this and so, are you your own self-hater? Are you your own self-hater? Right? There's things like that we have to consider. Will you be a Columbus hater? Yes, most probably. I have a spot, but I got hijacked. There's a long story with that. So I'm not sure where I'll be. But yeah, I think it's going to be in the 70s or something, right? On Columbus on Sunday. So all right. Well, now that you know what it'll look like, try to find me. Um, by the way, two other things. I promised to do a scope on periscoping on the Mac, and I thought maybe I would end up doing it today. Um, I'm not going to do it today. What I said I would do, though, was post a tiny, tiny scope with a date and a time saying when it's going to be. So I don't think I'm even going to get to do that today. So I'll have to figure that out. I haven't gotten the time because what I want to do again is to delete everything on my Mac and redo it. And then if it works, delete it again, and then the scope actually do it all live. Because I have a Fios, which is a fast line, and we could probably all get the whole thing done in half an hour. But I prefer to see people seeing it done live, so that you could ask questions and actually see the process. Because as any instructions, there's always parts that get left out, and there's probably going to be parts that left out in the scope. Um, Again, my email is envythisstuff@gmail.com. If anybody wants to send me questions about business thoughts and business considerations and flea market questions and just stuff, be realistic, be practical. If I don't answer you in 5 minutes, can you wait 24 hours? Right, that kind of a thing. A few people have asked me questions already. Did you register as a business? Where on here? No. On Twitter? No. I often never register anywhere as a business. Do I have a business license or whatever? Yes, but not on. I didn't get a with the state. Yeah. You got to. Yeah. They'll come after you. They come after me anyway. I have long bad stories of the state coming after me. It's pretty easy. You can do it online. It takes about 30 seconds. Is it costly? No, I think in New Jersey it's free. I think Connecticut charges a fee. I'm pretty sure New Jersey's free. There's a website, and they ask you about 20 questions, like what are you selling? What's the name you're going to be doing business as? Your name and address, obviously. They're going to send you something. Realize, though, once you do that I just have it in my name what the DBA, doing business as. But you can do an LLC as well. I realize once you do that, you got to really stick with the tax situation. That reminds me, you did said something on a scope that I thought I'd mention to you if I'd ever seen you. I can't remember at the moment. But yeah, you gotta do your paperwork, and even though some flea markets don't ask who you are and so on, normally when you get a permanent spot, they do. And I don't think the states ever really come to the flea markets, but if they ever did, you want to make sure your paperwork is in order. So not only that, yeah, I have an accountant as well. Yes. You need it. You need it because there's little gotchas, and you can save a lot of money and deductions and exemptions and things like that. Yeah, you definitely need an accountant. Um, and you should be filing quarterly once you get established. So far, I've had other businesses. My accountant, I think I've had since 1984. So was that 31 years or something? In fact, my accountant was originally somebody else, and then he partnered with a younger guy out of school, and then like 5 years later, the accountant finally retired, and the partner took over. So I've been going to him for like 30 years, and he knows my stuff like the back of the hand. In fact, when I'm missing something, he asks me for it. I'm like, oh, yeah, thank you. So it's that kind of a thing. And you do want that relationship with somebody. At the moment, so far, what you're doing doesn't justify an accountant or even doing anything with the state yet. And you're going to file taxes anyway because I think you either did stuff with the Sonic or you're going to. So you're going to file a tax return anyway. But once your business starts taking off, let's see, it's January, February, March, so you're already pretty much past the first quarter. So I wouldn't even worry about that. So it's the June, July, August. Do I have that right? January, March, April, May, June that you may or may not need to consider. The deal is basically if you're breaking even, you kind of can get away with doing nothing. But once you start making a profit, you have to start claiming it. Realize when you're claiming it, you're going to be taking off the percentage of the tax, even if you get it back at the end. And there's ways around that too, even, because it depends on how much wholesaling you do. Because that can impact things as well. So there's things like that. We should probably talk more offline about it. You can definitely ask Harry further about it too, if you can end up being in the booth with him on Thursday or not, because there's lots of gotchas and other things and so on. I'll be doing a lot of wholesaling. Yeah, mentioning that because the wholesaling may not be taxable, so that even though you have to file the quarterly, you may not have to pay anything. So that works out to be well. I do a bunch of wholesaling too, and it actually saves me a bunch of money in the sense that there's no sales tax involved. Technically, there's rules to follow with that as well. Like normally the wholesale is supposed to give you their tax ID number. And I think at the end of the year you give them, is it a 1099 or something like that? But most people don't do that. In fact, I do tens of thousands of dollars worth of purchases from wholesalers and stuff myself every year. Like last year was $50,000 or something, and I didn't get a single statement from a wholesaler. But you got to do this. Keep the receipts. Make sure you keep the receipts. If they're lost, you're screwed. If you get audited or questioned or whatever, you're screwed. Even to show your accountant that it's all true. Like, did you really do that? Is that really the right total? Those kind of things. So you really got to make sure. And it's a double check, because if you bought $10,000 worth of perfumes, for instance, and it really should have been $5,000, well, somebody needs to double check the math. So it's something like that. With my accountant, since he knows my business so well, like my brother has a fishing company. If I'm not mistaken, he sends every receipt to his accountant, and the accountant adds it up. So he doesn't just go to his accountant to get tax time. And he also has some you can have Harry email you, I guess, or if you at least have tracking things, at least cut the top off the box to show that you received a package. You must have a receipt. Are you ordering? Oh, you didn't order online from him, probably. Yeah, cash and carry. I do a lot of business that way too. So we'll talk more offline about that, because that can be a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Because once you're buying too much, then it gets suspect if you ordered it. So it kind of teeters back, because you have to. There's a fine line between being honest and dishonest, and kind of ignorant of it as well. So if I don't want to tell you to do something wrong, and each state and so on has their own rules and stuff too. So it's an interesting topic, and it was part just to say briefly. The New York State has tried to go after me a number of times, even doing things legitimately, even before doing the small electronics and so on. I had other companies, and they tried to claim that I didn't give the right annual salary and so on, the annual income and so on. And they just made up numbers, randomly numbers, and it took me months. In fact, some of the things repeated themselves, and it took me years to rectify. Oddly, I never had to go in to see them. This was all done over the telephone and someone. They would send me all these threatening things. There was a warrant for my arrest, I think, two different times. Just total silliness. It doesn't make sense. And then it happened again, actually, now that I'm thinking of it. When I started doing eBay sales, they just decided that I guess I don't know why this is, but statistically my eBay sales are not in New York. So they just decided I should be paying more state taxes on that. And I guess maybe all states do that, because I don't know if you know that there is some legislation in the process that we should be paying sales tax to all states when we do online sales and so on. So New York was probably playing games with people doing that. And the threat now is that a lot of states are computerized. So it was bad enough before they were computerized, but now they're computerized, they can just do anything they want to. Even getting a parking ticket in New York City is as bad. And by the way, New York City has tried to go after me as well. It was more complicated too, because long story short, one of my companies was actually in my wife's name, and they kept trying to go after both of us, which made no sense because we were married. So you can't. And the tax return was all legit, all fine. I'm not trying to say I was trying to pull a fast one or something. The state is just screwed up. So when you're dealing with red tape and so on, so that's why it's worth it. Yes, that's right. You're exactly right. So what was I going to say? Yeah. So with the red tape of the states being so screwed up, if you're going to start being deceptive and lying and other things, it can get a pretty slippery slope. So you kind of want to stay as legit as possible. And by the way, doing the LLC will be helpful for that. It already shows you want to go down that path, because if you're doing cash transactions and cash sales, then you're anonymous, right? So by the virtue of wanting to do an LLC or something like that, you're kind of legitimizing yourself, at least from the state's eyes. And you have legitimizing yourself as an established company and stuff too. So that also has its benefits. What other questions like that? I know we changed the topic, but I finished my excitement about excuses. I may start accepting card payments too. Yeah, I do as well. Normally at the markets, I reject them though, because if people have cash, take the cash. But I never had a problem accepting cards. It's just annoying sometimes because the card gets rejected and the person's like, oh, it shouldn't be and stuff like that. But yeah, I use PayPal and this Foursquare, and it's real easy. The card swiper is just a little thing you stick in your phone, and it takes 2 seconds. It's free, and you just pay the normal credit card fees that you would have paid from any company anyway. I think PayPal is like 39 cents plus 2.3% up to $1,000 or something like that. So, but if it means, yeah, and here's the thing: if it means losing $100 sale or something, then why not? Because there's days where I swipe it a few times, and it could add to, just by itself, maybe a few $100s. So it's worth it. And if you didn't do that, the customer may walk. So it depends how you want to approach things. And of course, if the person opens up their wallet and you see the cash, because I often give them a little bluff first. Like they're like, do you accept cards? And I'm like, oh, I have to check to see if I actually have the swipe thing with me today. Yeah, or especially around the holidays, yes. And they'll say, you know what, I kind of have the cash. The other thing, too, is make sure when you're at any markets that you know where the ATM machine is. I think there's an ATM machine in front of the office at EnglishTown. Oh, by the way, I think that was it. You mentioned you were thinking of getting a canopy, I think. You can't have one in Englishtown without having insurance first. I did that. Unfortunately, I set up a canopy, and the guy was very, very nice. The older guy, he's really a good guy in terms of interacting with people. and I think he's let me get a spot there for $3 sometimes or something. He's like, it's freezing out. Here, give me $3. No, so he's a pretty cool guy. Um, Also, the allocation of the spots at Englishtown. I don't know if you also know that you could just go get a spot, just go to a spot, and he'll charge you later. Um, yeah, there's a third party company. I pay $300 a year for it's for your first location, and I think it's $50 for every location thereafter that. So if you want insurance from, I think it's called Arizona something. If you email me at envythisstuff.com, I'll email you the link to the website. Um, so it's like $300 a year. I did an indoor market for a month, and I think they charged me $100 more. So and then like I get it from the Meadowlands, and then like Columbus doesn't seem to care. They may technically have a policy, but they've never seemed to care. And different markets have had different issues. Like I hear weird stories like at the Meadowlands, somebody got killed by a pipe going through their stomach, and just kind of weird stuff like that. So, and some markets will say like the next time you have to show me your insurance papers. So what you'll do is this, like the Arizona place is just all electronic, and they'll email it to you. In fact, some of them already have relationships with some of the markets. Like when I did the Meadowlands uh, insurance, they sent it to the Meadowlands automatically. They already knew who to send it to and so on. So, and that I guess will happen in markets that require insurance. So, and then if you do other markets that require it, then I think it's $50, and they add it on as a rider. So there's that. So anyway, let me ask you this. So when you went to Englishtown, did you have to stop at the little booth in the middle of the road, or did you go to the office to get your spot? Because I don't know when they start doing that. There's a guy who sits in the middle of the street, giving you a pass with a ticket. And if he's not there, don't go to the office. Just go to a spot. Yeah, yeah, the little forklift without the fork. Okay, yeah, I didn't know when they started that. I thought they started that in April. Um, Because what we've done too is we've actually changed our spots. And I asked the guy, I changed my spot. Is that okay? And he said yes. He told me that after, yes, that's true too. That's true too. Um, yeah, whenever possible, you want that main strip road. What is that called? Park Avenue or something? Um, which is one reason why I go to Englishtown in the dead of winter, because all the vendors don't come. What sometimes happens then is there's some vendors pulling a fast when it's not really their spot, but they're waiting for you. And what also happens too is if a vendor comes at 8:15, they kick you out anyway. It's kind of not fair. So there's stuff like that to think of. John Street. Yeah, I don't remember what John Street is. So, and it's hard to get a spot on that main avenue. Well, on the building side, and the dirt side is messed up. I find I have a problem at Columbus too, because of picking your spot is, and I'll probably do a scope about picking your spot at some point too. But just quickly at Columbus, like on last Thursday, there were vendors leaving at 9:30 in the morning. How the hell you get there and you're leaving at 9:30 already? And by 11 there was dozens of cars exiting. It wasn't the best day in the world, but I mean, come on, give it a chance. It was still hours away from raining, all this kind of stuff. So what happens though is you can be left by yourself, and then the customers, they weave through stuff, and they may never come to your table. Even if you scream at them, they just like wave at you. So it's that kind of a thing. So as you understand markets, you wanna figure that out too, because I think from what I could see from the first time you went there, that those other people had left, you would have been at the very end of that first row, which technically is the furthest kind of, if you were to draw an arc, um, like the Wi-Fi. I don't know how to do it. If you were here, like if people are here, they don't want to walk all the way over there to that last spot just for you. So it's a weird thing. So you have to figure out stuff, and of course, if you can, if you find that you can enjoy the English town or the stuff, get a permanent spot. Realizing that you could change your permanent spot too if you want to. Um, and what some vendors do sometimes, my stuff is too many knickknacks. But if you think you can pack up your stuff in 5 minutes and move to an empty spot, do so. Even if you have a thing on your pass, even if it starts out being crowded, just keep transferring your table to the next table. Um, I've done that when I have less stuff, and I know other people who do that. In fact, I know a guy who sells windshield wipers and stuff like that at Columbus, and he waits for to after they check your that you have a pass, and he goes under the awning part. Technically, you're not supposed to do that, but he does it. So if a vendor doesn't come under the roof thing, then he moves under there once they check all the passes. So there's ways to do things. And again, when I asked the guy at EnglishTown, because what happened to me at EnglishTown one time was that he gave me a spot in the middle of nowhere. It was a I don't know, it was June or something. As one example, he gave me a spot kind of in the middle of nowhere, and then I was like, why did he put me here? There's no other vendors near me. And then to compound it, the other vendors, after they got their stuff out of their trucks and vans, they parked in a circle around me, so nobody could even see me because it was kind of an empty area with me. So they basically blocked me out. So we carried all our stuff. It took us about half an hour to do it to another spot. Yeah, it's weird. So I think it's kind of sometimes this happens like when you go to a diner or a restaurant and they try to put the waitresses somewhere and try to distribute because they think another group is coming. So I'm assuming he thought because it was already so crowded that day that he was going to kind of start a new section. But then I was just left stranded, so it was silly. So I told him like you put me there and all those trucks came around me, so I moved. So he said no, if you have a ticket you can move. So whatever. So there's all these little tidbits of stuff you have to worry about often. It's interesting. Each market has its own dynamics and its own rules and its own silliness and its own clientele, its own culture, its own way of doing stuff. So it's weird. Where are you? Oh, you're going to go to Columbus on Thursday. Are you going to sell or are you just picking up product? Hoping to do both. I guess maybe I rephrased the question. Were you going to sell with Harry or are you going to set up your own tables? Oh, good, good. Okay. The perfume or the picking stuff? Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, it's worth doing that. It'll be a nice warm day. Um, it should probably be crowded. Um, right, right. And Columbus is known for that. Let me see. I think in what's the date? We're still March, right? Yeah. Because in April that whole other section opens up. April 1st, I think that code antique section opens up. So you may want to also consider that. Um, and there's odd things that happen at markets too, because don't underestimate that you could also sell the perfume with Harry there. Although I would ask him first. Um, but I know vendors who do double spots, in particular at Columbus, to be able to capture people on so-called both ends of stuff. So, and sometimes it's worth being the sore thumb sticking out. So even if you don't have antiques in the antique section, sometimes it's worth setting up there just to be the oddball. Realizing that could backfire big time. So, but it's worth experimenting. For instance, if you saw my scope from Sunday, I just did a total change up, and I lucked out. It worked out. Um, so not only was I able to sell the Marvel items, but there were people coming up who bought, one and two dozen and stuff from me at a time of the caps. Um, so, and I didn't expect that at all. I would have expected that at a larger market, but not at the end. So I was able to get 2 contacts, and when I get more hats, the guy wants me to email him, and he's going to buy more. So you never know. You never know. So there's things like that. So I took a gamble on a market that I was 50-50, and I could have stayed home. So it's that kind of a thing. So, all right. I packed up my orders and I have to take a bath. And then I have to move my car because I'm in New York City and we have what's called alternate side street parking, and get my stuff to the post office too. So, all right. What I'm going to try to do is there's the awning part in Columbus, and there's that sidewalk that connects the two of them. I'm going to try to get a spot there. Technically, I have a spot there, but it's next to a food truck, and the people misunderstood the spot I was trying to ask for. So what I'm going to try to do is get the spot right off of there. So it's good because that's a good pathway, and I think it's a good spot to have. So so if you bump into me, you can always email me if I'm not scoping then too, and ask where I am or something. But now that you know what I look like, right? I have all my teeth. Okay. So be nice meeting you on Thursday. All right. All right. Good, dude. All right. Take it easy, people. Peace out. Everybody, have a good day.